All right, good morning, world. Monday, March 28th. It's about quarter after 7. Sunrise should be over that hill any minute now, I think. It's a little bit cold. Wearing my jacket. Plan for today is fix the bike. So, I was deciding which made more sense, but since I'm already half unloaded, I can take the seat off to get the trailer disconnected pretty easy, and then I can work on the tire, the wheel a lot easier without fighting the trailer. So since I'm in camp, that seemed like a good idea. Otherwise, I was just thinking, like last night, as I go, I'm working through some of the problems, so it's getting better and better. I just remembered I have coffee from yesterday, so get to drink that. Okay, yeah, a little bit cold here still this morning. I swear, when it's warm, you forget that it's going to be cold, and up in the desert, and it gets cold fast overnight, and then it warms up really fast in the daytime. So, yeah, everybody's parked on that way. This is the restroom, but it's locked. This is kind of the off season still. Oops, sorry. So on the far end, I mean, it's not like, super far, but the second restroom is the one that's open, and it's on the far end. And then there's also, right there, is more of a camp toilet with no running water. But the one on the far end has the shower. So I thought I'd heard hot shower somewhere. Maybe the website, I don't remember. So I was kind of hopeful. And then it's towards sunset when I finally, I did the video last night, got it edited, started the upload, and then walked down and take the shower. And get down there, find it. Because from here I couldn't see it. I was like, man, I hope it's down there somewhere. The camp ranger, park ranger, whatever, had said, yeah, the first one is locked, the second one is open. So, and start pulling all my layers off, and happen to look at the shower, and it's just got a single push button. So it's pretty typical for, public shower or something like that. It doesn't have a twist knob. You just push it, and then after a few minutes it turns off again. And I felt like it was pretty generous on, how much water came out. It wasn't like you had to push it every 3 seconds or something, so that was okay. But I'm like, oh no, there's no adjustment for the temperature, so I'm like thinking it's going to be cold, right? So it's like, well, it's been 4 or 5 days, and I was really needing the shower, so I'll go ahead and, okay, I'll just do it. And start with my hands first. It's like, okay, it's kind of cold, but you kind of work your way into it, right? Well, then it started, like, I wasn't sure if it was feeling warm or if I was just going numb. But actually, yeah, it warmed up, and it wasn't like hot, but it was very, very nice, So I'm like, oh, yay, So then I soaped up all the way, got all rinsed off. Oh, man. Coming off my legs, it was dark. It was, because it's like you sweat, and then the road grime off the front tire sticks to your legs. I couldn't believe how dirty my legs were. So, got all done, think about it. I'm like, I'm doing it again. So I soaped up completely from top to bottom again and rinsed off again. It's like, okay, now I'm clean. Yeah, that was the best thing ever. But get out, start drying off, and the light goes off. It's a motion light. I'm like, I hadn't been real careful with how I laid my clothes out. I put the backpack on the floor, and I had to clean clothes and then the dirty clothes, but I couldn't see what was what. And I'm like, okay. Grab my shorts, put them on, get my shoes on, get out to almost the door, and then the light comes back on. I'm like, okay, good. Hadn't really thought of that. If I would have done it earlier, there was a skylight, but it was getting almost dark by the time I walked down there. So it's like, okay, note to self. It was like enough time if I would have taken my normal shower, but since I I scrubbed really hard and I ran out of time, so it's just kind of a funny thing. But yeah, warm showers, best thing ever. So, props to New Mexico. I'll assume that most of them are going to be like this, so now that I know, and I've got internet here, I'm going to do my route planning and try to hit more of the campsites. So, yeah, $10 a night. That's a good deal. Almost everybody's got an RV, and what I've seen in the past is most people with RVs don't use the restrooms, and so they're really clean, just because nobody uses them. And I think that's what happened with the shower. It took it a while for the warm water to get going, just because nobody else had been in there. So, one of the other things that I was thinking was, when I got done the Alaska trip, like in Alaska and Yukon and Northwest Territories, there was campsites everywhere, right? And you didn't even have to look very far ahead. You just rode until it was about time to stop, and then you'd see a campsite. And then when I came down into the 48 states, it was hard to find campsites. I got to the point I just would go hit a Motel 6 because most of the campsites were RV parks, and they wanted $30 or $40 a night, and you can get a Motel 6 for in a lot of towns, at least back then. $40 would get you a motel, and that had a shower and a TV and a bed. So I kind of shifted from camping every night to starting to just hit motels on the way down. Then I moved to Texas. So now that I know that, I guess that was kind of what I was thinking, is I stopped looking for campsites because there was so few of them, compared to, Alaska. So now that I'll figure out which states have them and kind of go like that, I guess. At least a couple geese just landed in the river down here, so let's see if we can get a shot. Anyway, that's also the dam. I just wanted to get a work in progress update here. This is why I'm reluctant to do maintenance on the side of the road. Okay, easiest way to get the rear wheel off is to disconnect the trailer from the bike. The trailer hitch attaches to the seat post. I was getting before enough torque sideways that it was actually twisting the seat post. So I've got a hole drilled through the seat post, and I run a bolt through it so it can't twist anymore. Okay, that seems to have worked well. And then it's, otherwise it was just, undo the quick release on the seat, lift the trailer up, and then the seat stays on the trailer for now. If I needed to ride the bike, I've got another bolt here doing the same thing, holding the seat to the hitch. Another possible thing that I was looking at, if my rear wheel got really damaged to the point that I can't get it to work, the trailer wheel is a rear wheel and it still has the sprocket. So I could put, in fact, this might be the rear wheel that was originally on the bike because it's pretty rusty. So this will fit on the bike. Anyway, so the batteries, the solar panel, and the charge controller are on the trailer, and so it's charging now even though it's not connected to the bike. Okay, so that kind of is a useful part of this. I can disconnect it, do maintenance on the bike, and this will still be charging. Now 39.4, it's gone up since this morning. I'm only getting 0.6 of an amp though. I check out in the tomorrow morning of here. The next campsite is about 25 miles away. That's not very far, but if it's cloudy, maybe I'll just get to there and stop. And the next day in Albuquerque, it's forecast for rain. So it doesn't make sense to go any further and get into the rain. Like here, if it's the same kind of setup, and it's going to be another New Mexico State Park, they probably have the same kind of design, so I could throw my bed underneath the canopy and probably stay out of the rain. Also, I do have a piece of 4 mil plastic I can pull over. Okay, so that's half of the chaos. So I've still got camp set up. Here's my bag of spokes. I got backpack, another backpack still on the bike. Half of this is still breakfast. I stocked up on cough drops at one time, and I realized I had all 3 bags of cough drops in my backpack that I wear. I'm like, okay, I don't need that, so I'm going to move some of that around. This bag is just tire stuff. So it's got like 4 spare tubes in there, the rubber cement, the patches, and the valve tool. This bag is all of my hand tools. I keep them in these bubble wrap envelopes. Cuts down on rattles quite a bit. It does seem to help. So then now with the table, I can spread all my tools out and see what I'm doing, right? This is the tool you use to take off the sprocket set. This is the one with 7. You can see the biggest one is quite a bit bigger. It's really nice for climbing. So most of the broken spokes are on the sprocket side, so you have to take the sprocket off to get the spokes out. I noticed just now, when I was taking it apart, I've got 2 broken spokes on the non-drive side, which is unusual. Usually you break the drive side. This was a little bit scary because there was so many broken spokes on the wheel trying to loosen up the sprockets, which are tightened by pedaling, and so you're putting a lot of force on them, so it takes at least that much to loosen them. I had so many broken spokes, the whole wheel was flexing while I'm trying to break this thing loose, and I'm like, oh man, if I start tearing the rest of the spokes or screw up the hub, I'm like, look around, find the right size of rock, hold tension on the wrench, and then pop it with the rock a few times to help break it loose, and that seemed to work. But instead of just ripping on it like an impact driver, basically just give it a couple good quick pops with the rock. So it's a matter of finding the right size of rock, really. Yeah, anyway, there's a lot of days I really don't like bicycles, honestly. Watching all the motorhomes and everybody drive out, I'm like, well, I think van life would be a nice idea. I can't wait for those electric vans to start hitting the market. I'm starting to feel like a mechanic again. I guess, when I think about it, all of the stupid things I've done in my life are because I can. I don't know. Still can't say I actually enjoy this kind of stuff, but at least I kind of know how to do it. So I usually don't put the sprocket on right away until I got things working. I thought it was interesting. This wheel, it is a little bit lumpy, so it's pulled up one way a little bit too much. Without a truing stand, it's very time consuming to get it really dead nuts on. Because if you have, if all of the spokes on the top are just a little bit too tight or too short, then the wheel will actually bounce a little bit. All right. What I'm usually looking for is just to get it straight, and I think we're pretty close now. You can see the bump though, it is bumping up and down a little bit, but it's a lot straighter. At first, every time it would go around, it would hit one of the brake pads, flump, 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 flump. So I can live with that. And this worked out amazingly well. Bungee strap down to the swing arm over the top of the post. Keep the back wheel off the ground. That works great. Glad I'm in camp. This would have just, oh man, on the side of the highway, this would have been bad. Fixing one spoke still involves all of this. If it's a drive side spoke, so half the spokes, you don't have to do it, but on the side with the sprocket, that's the drive side. That's the ones that tend to break the most. So to do that, pull the wheel off, pull the sprocket off, pull the tire and tube off, then get to the spoke. That might. Right here. This end is bigger and then it tapers down to the same size as this end. So they're much stronger on the bottom end. I've not yet broken one of the new ones anywhere. So guarded optimism, this is going to take care of the problem. Well, it's been kind of weird. It's about 5:30. I just left the bed set up, throw all the extra backpacks on it. The wind was kicking up for a while, so I just kept throwing stuff on top of the bag so it wouldn't fly away, the sleeping bag. For now, that works. The trick will be to get in it before the bag flies away. Once I'm in it, I should be okay. I see two parks. Elephant Butte. I was laughing. I thought it said Elephant Butte, but I think it's Butte. It's only about 25 miles from here, but it's going to be cloudy tomorrow. So I thought, okay, if I do a short ride, especially after taking a day off, on a cloudy day, I won't use as much power if I don't go as far. So we should be okay. And then the next day is supposed to be sunny. I'm looking at about a 70 mile ride day after tomorrow. And then that'll put us up close to Albuquerque, I think, if I remember right. There ended up 10 broken spokes out of 36, which is just crazy. But what I think happened, because there was so many broken spokes, when I put the tool and the wrench on the sprocket set to spin it off, I was flexing the wheel because the spokes hold the hub in place. And since I was twisting against the hub and there was so many broken spokes, the whole thing was just deforming. It was kind of freaking me out. Anyway, so far the tires are holding air. These little guys are doing their best, but I don't know if this will stay on here in the wind now. But I know this isn't unique to Texas, but man, those things are just gnarly. Every time I walk somewhere, they get stuck in my shoe. It's about 1/4 of an inch. It's not very big, but get it off my seat so I don't sit on it. Well, as always, thanks for all the support, and we'll probably post again tomorrow. It's looking like I'll get cell phone coverage most of the next few days. I do expect eventually when I go up towards Four Corners, it doesn't look like there'll be a lot of coverage up there, but I don't know. I'm never right about that kind of thing. So anyway, there was one last thing. I was trying to remember what it was. I had paid the deposit for the sun trip the day before I left Sierra Blanca. Go into the bank, do the transfer. It's a wire, wire transfer to France, because that's where the guy is at. And now I'm looking at it, and it's not completely clear if it went through or not. I'm waiting for confirmation. So a couple people were asking about that. So what I ended up doing was I had money to do it, and I'm like, okay, I'm already at a bank. This would be a good time to do it. So, and I saw that a bunch of people had donated, so there was a lot of money coming. And then what ends up happening is the money that was donated was after the cutoff date, so it showed up as like $500 or something like that. I'm like, oh, this would be great, so the 27th I'll have all this money. Look at the bank on the 27th, and I had like $275 of the 500 come in, so the rest will be next month. So thank you very much for that. But now I'm like, okay, one, I don't know if the money I sent actually is going through. If it doesn't go through, it'll end up back in Sierra Blanca Bank, which isn't tied to the other account. I'm like, oh, okay, I do have an ATM card on that, so that's good. Oh, no more zoom, don't do that. Do not hit the zoom button. That was an awkward shot. So it's kind of like, okay, where is the money? Is it going through? Is it not going through? I have no idea. So for now, things are good. I got enough cash on me. That was the one thing I did before I left the last town, is to get some cash, because I remembered from the Alaska trip, you need some way to pay for your campsite. So I took out some money. So I got that covered, and then we'll see what happens in a few days or something like that. I don't know. The other thing is, it looks like Patreon money is coming through on 2nd or 3rd or something like that. So those of you on Patreon, thank you very much. That kind of works out good because they don't hit at the same time. So I get one, and then a week later I get the other one. Yeah. So I'm not in it for the money, but the money makes it possible. So thank you very much. And welcome to all the new subscribers, and stay tuned. We'll try to get back some more exciting stuff here tomorrow. Probably. Maybe. Yeah. Bye.